Hey, it's Wixman Ray again. We are just moving along here in April. It's April 15th already, 2026. 8 about 8:20 Central Daylight Time. That's about 9:20 on the East Coast and 6:20 out on the West Coast. Still got a pretty active pattern. We saw them thunderstorms redevelop right over the same general part of the country as yesterday, but more numerous, especially, like I said, southward towards Oklahoma. Few down in Texas too, but so we'll talk about that. So we've got it's kind of more of a trough or a dry line. It's not really much of a cold front per se, as there's not really a lot of cold air behind it. Just some drier air behind this system here. A little bit of a low pressure up through Iowa, kind of a weak one, but nevertheless a low pressure system. And that was associated with the low that came out of the Rockies here yesterday, so or last night basically. So all these cold cloud tops we're seeing, these reds, orange, and yellows, these are mostly thunderstorms all the way from Wisconsin down through Iowa, Illinois, Missouri, parts of southeast Kansas, even a little bit of part of Arkansas, and down into Oklahoma and Texas. As we head in between, kind of over Michigan, mostly just some showers. Some of it's not even getting precipitation. I'm not sure if these are thunderstorms over northern Indiana. We'll have to take a look. But there's definitely some severe storms out over parts of New York, some and Pennsylvania, I believe. And so there's some showers and thunderstorms out across the Northeast also. And like I didn't mention it, but there are some severe thunderstorms through this area. A couple tornado warnings up in the northern portion. So no surprise there. We've been warning you of that for days and days now that we were going to see repeat pattern, and it's not quite over with yet. As you see, this system out here is going to cause troubles as we go through Friday and Saturday. So yeah, we got another low pressure kind of moving inland over the Pacific Northwest. It may be over Washington or up into British Columbia. Nevertheless, a lot of showers, a little bit of thunder. I saw a thunderstorm reported out here in Idaho. So some showers and thunderstorms. Definitely some colder air behind this. So some areas will see a little bit of light snow tonight. Through tomorrow morning, maybe even into the lower elevations, the valleys. So something to keep an eye on out there, and we'll talk about that a little bit more as we get into the forecast. So that's the main issue in between these two storms. Fairly quiet down across the southwestern U.S. through Colorado and up through this area in between these storms. And then across the southeast U.S., we got a little bit of a ridge kind of keeping the weather nice down through there. And that's kind of how it's been all week down there. So, and relatively nice temperature, 70s and 80s for the most part. So here's the surface observations with the radar overlaid. So you can see mostly showers. There are a couple little thunderstorms, it looks like, near Boise. They're reporting some lightning and thunder there. A little bit of gusty winds too as the front approaches northern Nevada. They're getting some gusts, 30 to 40 miles an hour out there. So we're seeing some showers. There'll definitely be some high elevation snows. The temperatures out here in the 40s for the most part. So a little cool for April 15th out there, but nothing too surprising. Out here mostly 50s and 60s, and then some 30s there. So a little bit chillier up there. And I think that's Missoula. Yeah. So, yeah, and this cold air is going to be pressing down into northern Nevada and to northern Utah as we go into tomorrow. And it'll definitely move into Wyoming and Colorado as we move through the next day or so, 24 hours. So, well, pretty nice day in Vegas, 81, a little bit warmer than it was yesterday, 65 in LA. Still 70s through the valley for the most part, 84 in Phoenix. 60s and 70s across New Mexico, and then some 70s and 80s across Texas, uh, and the southeast is mostly in the 70s. Here we go. So we got a couple thunderstorms, real isolated as we get south of this. This stuff across here isn't severe, but some thunderstorms and showers through there. Here's where it gets a little more active, especially up along the Red River into North Texas and to southeast Oklahoma. We've got some pretty rambunctious thunderstorms, a few severe thunderstorm warnings. Luckily, no tornado warnings out of this. The way this looks, it's more of a line, a linear type pattern. So, um, but you can still get spin ups of weak tornadoes along those sometimes. So that's still not out of the question, a tornado or two. As we head up north, we got a few up into southeast Kansas, northern Oklahoma, a couple severe thunderstorm warnings along them, and then across Missouri. They've moved well east of Kansas City. In fact, we had them pop up around here right around 4 o'clock. 3:30 to 4 o'clock, and we had some pretty heavy rain. The second batch of storms that I drove through, I had some probably marble size hail. I was getting a little concerned there. It was really heavy rain, but yeah, so a little bit of storm. What do you call it? Hail. So looks like some severe storm warnings across middle parts of Missouri here. Like I said, out ahead of this front, the dew points are in the 60s, 50s farther back, but behind them, they're like in the 40s. So more of a dry line type setup, or, just drier air. So maybe a little bit of a trough, but not really. I mean, you look at the temperatures out, I mean, they're pretty similar on both sides of the front. So really not much of a frontal system to speak of. And then it gets more active up here. Looks like we got a tornado warning up there, right up here on the corner of Iowa, Missouri, and Illinois there. So out of that cell. Got a few discrete or isolated cells. That's what discrete means. A couple severe thunderstorm warnings across Iowa, not too far from Des Moines, to the west of them, and then up northwest of Des Moines. Looks like a few thunderstorms starting to weaken across northern Iowa. And then there's a pretty good line of them. There's still a tornado warning out here. Yeah, what is that place? Near Muscatine, Iowa, going into Illinois. So, and we've got some severe storm warnings and a couple more tornado warnings up in northern Illinois and to Wisconsin. So watch out up there. Yeah, up there near Burlington, Wisconsin. They're in the path of one, or at least a threat of a tornado. They got a tornado warning, so there's either been a report of one, or the radar is indicating it. So that's usually why they're issued. And then behind it, some pretty good rains behind it. Maybe some pops of thunder still back behind it. Yeah, it looks like they are. And then as you get farther north, pretty quiet, a few lingering showers over here, but nothing. So, I mean, look at this. I mean, it's in the 60s way back up here into North Dakota. A little bit cooler. Well, Duluth's got that wind off the lake, so they got 43, but 52 in International Falls, so really nice. I mean, relatively nice. Middle of April day up there. And then here we go. So like I said, there's not a whole lot going on between these two systems. I mean, the storms are starting to try to move into Michigan. We got a few showers up into parts of, I think this is Ontario province up in Canada. But we got some severe storms here rolling across western New York, south of Rochester, and down towards northern Pennsylvania, and then looks like just to the east of Binghamton, New York, we got a severe storm warning. So a few thunderstorms rolling through that area. And that was from yesterday's round that was back in this general area yesterday. So this is kind of the remnants of that system. A few little showers, it looks like, across here. Caribou's a little chilly. It looks like they got some fog, some dense fog, actually, a quarter mile of fog. They're at 42 degrees, 43 degrees, so a little chilly up there. And some 50s up, 40s at Boston. They got some fog coming off the ocean or something. The winds are off the ocean anyways. And JFK, New York City is looking like pretty nice. Looks like some storms just to the north of the city, up into Connecticut, and this part of New York down here, downstate, just north of the city there. All right. And that's about it for our radar report. So, yeah, a little bit of activity up here, and then, up through here with the most intense storms being farther north. But none of these can be ignored. I mean, they're all misbehaving and causing some troubles. So, watch out for damaging winds, hail, and tornadoes, and all of those. So here we go. So this is for the rest of tonight. So you kind of see this kind of, looks like showers and thunderstorms will be ongoing through tonight. This goes through about midnight, and even some spotty stuff possible across Texas. Back west, some rain and snow. Most of it will be high elevation snow, but that could reach down into some of the lower elevations as it cools off tonight. And and then you kind of see this activity out over the northeast and kind of spreading across Michigan. This area may fill in or may just kind of be overdone, but either way, they're going to get it coming their way eventually tonight into the morning. So as we move into the morning, like I said, this system moves to the east, kind of northeast. So the low pressure actually moves up into Canada. It's in Iowa now, and then it'll slowly move through, southern Wisconsin tonight. But the remnant front, or not really, I guess you'd call it a trough or dry line, discontinuity, whatever you want, wind shift. Anyways, it's not really a front. There's not really any temperature change like I demonstrated. But there'll be some ongoing thunderstorms through the morning as it moves east through the Great Lakes and down through the Ohio Valley into Indiana and down through parts of eastern Kentucky and Tennessee and parts of, Arkansas. There might be some lingering stuff in Oklahoma if that's a true depiction of what's going to happen. So as we go into tomorrow, so we'll see thunderstorms kind of intensify. There's a threat of marginal threat of severe. I think there's a slight threat up over across parts of the northeast. I'll show you that. So across the northeast, down through the Ohio Valley, and then, into Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and down through Kentucky and Tennessee. There'll be some showers and thunderstorms. There might be a little bit back here in Arkansas or southern Missouri, but that won't be severe or anything, but just some stuff. Back to the west, we kind of see this pushing down, so you'll see some snow across northern Nevada, maybe northern Utah, maybe some down in the valleys there. Maybe some minor accumulations before the sun rises, but probably not a lot of accumulation. Looks like some snow even up into Idaho and Montana and parts of the interior of Oregon. So watch out for that. As we go into Thursday night and Friday morning. So this system, so we'll have some lingering snow across Utah, Wyoming, parts of Colorado. It looks like a little snow might develop across the Dakotas on Friday. It doesn't look quite as robust, maybe a little bit up into Minnesota, but so they might get a little bit of snow. But it looks like the main threat will be severe storms starting probably in the same general area around Wisconsin, down through Iowa, Missouri, Kansas, Oklahoma, and then that'll push eastward tomorrow night as it'll go out towards Illinois, Indiana, and this stuff will eventually push eastward down into Arkansas and towards Indiana. So this is by Saturday morning. This whole system. I've been saying it for a couple of days, but there's probably going to be some very strong to high winds possible behind this front across the northern plains and parts of the central plains, maybe down into West Texas and eastern New Mexico and Oklahoma. But even if they're not high wind criteria, they're going to be pretty strong winds. So this looks like a good pattern as this pretty strong low develops as it moves out of the Rockies. So like I said, on Saturday we'll see a redevelopment, more storms kind of moving east, starting to move into New York, Pennsylvania, and down through the Ohio Valley, Tennessee Valley area, and then down through Texas and Louisiana and parts of the South there as we go into Saturday. As this progresses east on Sunday, we'll have kind of a front with showers and thunderstorms across the southeast, up through the mid-Atlantic and the northeast. It looks like probably there might be some thunderstorms, but nothing severe as we go into Sunday. And then that front kind of pushes offshore as we go into the midday to late afternoon. There'll be some lingering rain. Looks like a little bit of snow on the backside too, up in parts of the northeast, even into New York, maybe a little bit in Pennsylvania. It's hinting at something there. So there's definitely some cold air. You can see that these blue colors here. There's some cold air coming behind this system. So this will be a true cold front, not like this system today, but so that's what it looks like through the weekend. Elsewhere, it's going to stay quiet out on the west. There's this low pressure offshore that's kind of teasing the west coast, but it looks like it's really not going to move on shore, at least through the weekend. Looks like there might be a little bit of rain, trying to redevelop across Texas on Sunday or lingering back there. But yeah, we won't talk about that too much at this point. We'll take a look at it as we get past these severe storms here. So last but not least, our convective outlook. So this is for the rest of tonight. Basically from southern Wisconsin down through this same general area, Illinois, Missouri, Arkansas, Oklahoma, and parts of North Texas, and then a kind of a marginal threat as it moves eastward through parts of the Northeast and, through parts of the Midwest and Great Lakes here. So watch out for that tonight. As you go tomorrow, will be a little bit of a lull, but not a complete lull. But this system will move east. Looks like a little threat across New York. So like say Syracuse, Binghamton, and then out towards Vermont, even parts of New Hampshire and Connecticut will have a marginal threat. And that it goes through parts of Pennsylvania, Ohio, even kind of touching Michigan and Indiana just a little bit. And this goes back into Kentucky, Tennessee, this general area down here. So along the Ohio and Tennessee area, not Ohio, but the river, Ohio River. So yeah, and then flowing down through the Mississippi Valley here. So yeah, getting into the mid to lower Mississippi Valley, maybe some marginal threats of storms. Tornado threat looks like they're a little bit of a threat up there in the northeast, but not a big threat. And looks like wind and hail will be your main bit. Bigger, a little bit more possible with this, but really not a big outbreak tomorrow. Not as many severe warnings probably tomorrow for Thursday. But Friday, we're going to see another nice little, as that front and low pressure move out of the Rockies. You got an enhanced risk all the way from parts of Wisconsin, Illinois, Iowa. So similar area, maybe just shifted slightly to the west and surrounded by a marginal. So so for this is for Friday. So watch out that area for Kansas City, Des Moines, up across the these other areas, the Quad Cities, I think it's called over here. I always forget the name of those cities. And then Wichita, Oklahoma City, and like Wichita Falls, Texas. So yeah, so watch out for severe tomorrow, not tomorrow, but on Friday, and then Saturday looks like our last kind of threat with this pattern has been lasting a good week. So Saturday is still looking like parts of the Ohio Valley up through the northeast, not north, but north the Great Lakes up in the parts of Michigan, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Indiana, and Kentucky, parts of West Virginia. And that's for Saturday. So there's a little bit of a threat. Beyond that, really, the front will push off to the east Sunday morning and then move offshore. And really it don't look like much of a threat for the East Coast or the Southeast for, Saturday into Sunday. So Yeah, so that's about it. Yeah, almost forgot I was doing a video here. I thought I was just talking to myself. I'm tired. It's been a long day. I've been in some training today for a new job I'm doing. So, anyways, hey, this is Wixman Ray. Oh, I want to just say before I sign off, I appreciate y'all. Thank you, all 50 of you subscribers. Let's get it to 50,000. Tell your friends, your family, your coworkers. Tell anybody that you know that loves weather. Tell your kids that they can watch it. I'll keep my mouth clean. And yeah, so Wixman Ray out.